Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Panda Cave. In today's episode, we will be looking at Anthem, a brand new game out of BioWare Studios who are best known for the Mass Effect series. At the 2018 E3 conference, we were given the first look into Anthem, and people were saying that it was going to be the game that Destiny should have been. But since then, we really haven't heard much, and the little news they did give us didn't paint a good picture of what Anthem was going to be like. But after playing the game for an hour now, I can say that it lives up to the statement of being a better version of Destiny. While playing through the first mission, I started to notice how the game was basically just spawning in the same unit over and over again, to the point where I thought I was fighting off the Fallen or the Vex from Destiny. Then after fighting through a few waves of enemies, I was finally able to use my ultimate ability for the first time, in which this is when the game decided to quit spawning more enemies because, well, of course. But even with these similarities to Destiny, I still didn't feel like I was playing Destiny, and the biggest reason for this in my opinion is having the ability to fly and that the map was more 3D. Now, flying in the game is pretty simple, as all you have to do to fly is jump and then hit the sprint button while you're in the air, and next thing you know, you're soaring through the sky. Well, I mean, maybe not the sky, but it's still really fun. It reminds me a lot of the flight mechanics from Dark Void, which was one of the first games to introduce the fast transition from shooter to flying and back. I also like that the game limits your flight time by causing your suit to heat up the longer you fly or hover, and when you overheat the suit, you just fall. Kind of like how when Iron Man flew too high and his suit froze over. But flying is not the only thing that'll overheat your suit though, as I did catch myself standing on some lava at one point and noticed that my suit had overheated as I tried to fly away. At the same time that lava can overheat your suit, water can actually cool your suit. During the prologue mission, you actually get told to fly through a waterfall, and as you would expect, it completely cooled off my suit, basically refreshing the amount of time that I could remain airborne, which is really nice when you need to travel long distances across the map and don't really feel like running. Now, after you have finished the prologue mission of the game, you then make it back to the tower, Fort Tarsus, which is the main hub for the game. This is where you can purchase new gear, check what the daily, weekly, and monthly quests are, or change out the gear on your Javelin at the Forge, which is where most of our time will probably be spent when here at the fort.
What have you done this time?
Nothing. My armor's fine. Probably. I hope.
Now, there are 4 types of Javelins that you can choose from when you accept the first main quest in the game, which allows you to unlock one of the Javelin classes now. Although you should note that you literally can't undo this first choice, as the game tells you to choose carefully. You'll be using this suit until new Javelin classes become available at level 8, even if you restart the game. So yeah. So starting with the Storm, it has the ability to use elemental weapons and has the longest fly/hover time out of all the classes, and well, it looks like a wizard or warlock when it's fighting. Next is the Ranger class, which is the same suit that you begin the game with and play through the prologue in. It's the average of all of the suits in terms of offensive and defensive capabilities, as well as its speed. Then we have the Colossus, which just from its name and size alone, we can tell it's supposed to be the tank of the group, and should be capable of carrying some of the larger weapons in the game at the cost of its speed and flight time though. And lastly, we have the Interceptor, which looks like a ninja, and plays like one too, as this suit excels at close combat. I went with the Ranger just because I was getting used to it, and figured it would be the best way to figure out my playstyle. After choosing the class that I wanted, the game let me attempt to customize the loadout on my Javelin, even though I was only level 2, and to unlock more slots you need to reach higher levels, which makes sense. And I quickly discovered that I was too low of a level to even equip a second weapon, so I didn't spend too much time looking through the loadout slots, but I did notice that there were quite a few, especially when it came to the component section. So after spending a few minutes perusing through the weapons I had collected from the prologue, I started to look at the appearances section, in which I was happy to find quite a few options like the typical helmet, torso, arms, and legs. But I was excited to see the wear state and animation tags, and that they had separated vinyls from paint. And as always, with any game that BioWare develops, there is an N7 Vinyl that you can put on your Javelin, because why not? I know when I get some more credits, I'll be picking it up, but still. After I had finished changing almost nothing with my Javelin except for equipping a new LMG, it was time to set out on my first expedition. So expeditions are basically just missions, to put it simply. You select the expedition that you want to go on, choose a difficulty, and then launch, which puts you in a matchmaking queue to find other players trying to do that same mission at the same difficulty. And of course, you can invite your friends to come join you as well, or if you change your privacy settings to private, you can go at it alone. Except you won't be able to do free play or the stronghold missions, which means you will have to get used to that matchmaking queue at some point to experience the whole game, or convince your friends to get it with you. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this just because I like playing games solo, but that's just my opinion. Anyways, that about sums it up for this episode, you guys. Overall, the game is a lot of fun to play. I really enjoy the shooting mechanics, and the flying is a blast once you get used to it. I'm also excited to see how the story in the game develops, as the characters in the game are quite the characters.
You do know you probably just orphaned some baby rabbits there.
And with that bad joke, don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button, as we'll see you next time at the Panda Cave.